Welcome to Trial by Wine. We take a closer look at crimes that highlight how fascinating humans can be. Schmidty, Swanee and Clarkey visit crimes and run them through their jury of three, debating both sides of the case to agree an appropriate, if totally fictitious, sentence. Please be advised, Trial by Wine may include explicit or disturbing content and will include drunken rambling. Listener discretion is advised. All right, how are we?
Great, in the words of, is it Kath and Tim? No, Prue and Trude.
Prue and
Great,
Trude.
darling.
Very good, thank you.
Oh, we're recording.
I thought you were doing a bit of mind handy then.
Me?
You said.
Mine handy. No, I was just thinking that, not a lot happened in the intervening 10 minutes because, yet again, we're doing 2 episodes in a row and I'm still processing the horror of the last one. I'm going to delve into my story in a moment, which will hopefully clear our palates around these things.
Oh.
Well, to some degree. Okay. So before we do that, and I'm assuming we have no news, am I correct?
Absolutely no news yet.
Yep.
Yeah.
Then we should introduce ourselves. I'm Schmidty.
I'm Swanee.
And I'm Clarkey. And together we are
Trial by
Non-Alcoholic
Wine.
I was going to say, what are we drinking? But I think you just answered that.
Boom.
Yep. So still on the 0.
Oh, no, I've upgraded to soda water.
Swanee's on soda water, and I'm on mango chutney again. And just in case
You didn't pop the bottle?
No, because it'll fuck me up, and I need to be clear-headed for this one. For those people who have just tuned in and haven't listened to any other episode, when I say mango chutney, it is, of course, a mango raspberry vodka cruiser.
Vodka.
But Swanee once made a joke that
I can't even remember what the original flavour was. I was actually just thinking
mango
about
raspberry.
that, thinking,
yeah.
What was the reference? And I started to think it didn't even have mango in it. So
It does. Yeah. All right. Well, shall I tell you a story?
Please do.
You haven't really talked it up so far, so
well, I don't want to talk it up too much because maybe it'll fall flat. But I personally got again.
You do seem rather excited by it.
I went down a rabbit hole again, and I was
You always went down a rabbit hole.
I know. I was having a little think about kind of the progression of this story, and the story I'm bringing to you today is one that I saw a headline on years ago, and I was trying to work out when, and it was about the time that we were starting the podcast. So pretty sure the first time I read about this was back in 2021. And at the time I couldn't really find anything else on it because you know how sometimes something's just happened but no one has done the work for me and they haven't, written up any detail or even really looked into it. It's sort of like this is this bizarre fact that just happened. Fast forward to 2024 and some people have done some great work on this. And I was listening to another podcast that I follow and they covered it. And I'd like to shout out to Amanda from Wine and Crime because she did a good job on this. And I remember at the time I thought, I know this one. This is the one that I saw the article on. And, of course, it reignited my interest in the story and inspired me to dig a bit further into it today. Now, the last story I did was around RN Gaza. And at the outset, I made a joke about Jesus not being real. Well, joke's on you, Clarkey, as not only was Jesus real, he's been reincarnated. But more on that shortly.
Oh, God, I just said, oh, God, and I wanted to be sure and say that.
Okay, so my sources for this story are Rolling Stone, Wikipedia, Variety.com, Vanity Fair, The Daily Beast, LATimes.com, and a series of random videos on YouTube. And last night I even went out and watched a 3-part series on this, which is by someone whose name I can't remember.
I like the sources. They sound very much like cup of tea.
I wish one of the sources wasn't Rolling Stone, but maybe the Rolling Stones.
Oh, no, they did a really, really
And it was
good...
like Sympathy for the Devil or something.
No. Rolling Stone magazine did a really good story on this. And the name of I won't tell you the name of the 3-part series, but I will tell you, but it was a documentary series directed
Lord of the Rings?
Produced by Hannah Olsen. So that might give it away for anyone who knows the story. Okay, so... Let me introduce... No, nothing, no relation. Let me introduce you to Mother God. Not to be confused with other mother gods, because apparently there have been a few. So to be clear, I'm talking about Mother God, otherwise known as Amy Carlson. Now, before I get on to Amy...
Hang on a minute.
What?
This sounds a bit... Well, Mother God, Amy... What did you say, Carlson?
Carlson, yeah.
That's not right. If she was really God, she'd have a better name than Amy Carlson.
Well, You know, there's the divine. Who can question the divine ways of stuff and things?
Amy Carlson or
Mm.
Mother God.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Before I get on to Amy, I thought I'd give you some background on the concept of Mother God or Divine Mother or Earth Mother or Gaia, etc. It's not a new concept. It's existed across cultures and religions for centuries.
Just learned something. Sorry. There was a whole brand of baby products I use called Gaia. Didn't know it was that Mother, is it?
It's
Oh.
Mother Earth. Mother Earth, yeah.
There you go.
yeah.
Oh, it was
Pachamama.
it was sort of all that organic stuff. I think it was in the UK.
There you go, yes.
There you go. They were ahead of their times, or I was very much
You
behind.
learn something new
Sorry, Schmidty.
every day.
I just
3,
learned
2,
something.
1, you're back in the room.
I'll be using Gaia all the time now.
There's evidence of mother goddesses represented by statues and relics from the Egyptian times, Anatolians, Africa, India, basically everywhere where civilization has existed. From Wiki.
But none of them were Amy Carlson.
Well,
this is ridiculous.
We'll get on to her in a sec. So,
Okay.
from Wiki, a mother goddess is a major goddess characterized as a mother or progenitor, either as an embodiment of motherhood and fertility or fulfilling the cosmological role of a creator and or destroyer figure, typically associated with the earth, sky, and or life-giving bounties thereof in a maternal relation with humanity or other gods. When equated in this lattermost function with the earth or the natural world, such goddesses are sometimes referred to as the Mother Earth or Earth Mother deity in various animalistic or pantheistic religions. The Earth goddess is archetypally the wife or feminine counterpart of the Sky Father, or Father Heaven, or Father God, if you like. Particularly in
Mother Nature.
well, there's another one, particularly in theologies derived from the Proto-Indo-European sphere. In some polytheistic cultures, such as the ancient Egyptian religion, which narrates the cosmic egg myth, the sky is instead seen as the heavenly mother or sky mother, as in Nut and Hathor, and the earth god is regarded as the male, paternal and terrestrial partner, as in Osiris or Geb, who hatched out of the maternal cosmic egg. Got it?
It's a
No.
long way to fall.
No.
I think you need to whiteboard it.
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
I'm with you, Swanee.
No. And I'm hoping that's kind of the point.
Yeah.
That it's rather
Is the-
convoluted. Yeah, thank you. It's all right.
Is the moon the egg?
No, the
Or is it
sky.
something
The-
else?
could be. I don't know. I think that the
Which one came
sky is the
first?
mother and gives birth to all creation, effectively.
Okay.
So I guess one of the big
Makes
questions.
sense so far.
Yeah, I guess one
The
of
nut threw me.
might be nut.
What was it?
So I guess one of the big questions is, where does a mother god start in this crazy world of ours? For Amy Carlson, the answer was the internet. Amy was born in 1975 in McPherson, Kansas. The oldest of 3 girls, she had a pretty normal upbringing. Her parents separated when she was 7 and her mother remarried in 1984, and the family moved to Oklahoma City. Her father also remarried, and unfortunately they had a bit of a custody fight over the kids. Amy wasn't a fan of her stepmother, but due to the custody issues, she had to split her time between Kansas and Oklahoma. She was a pretty standard teen, though where other girls were decorating their rooms with pin-ups of the time, Amy was sticking to unicorns and sparkles for her aesthetic.
And Hello Kitty dolls?
She was ahead of her time in that respect.
But she
'Cause
was
that's quite in vogue, been in vogue
Well,
like the last 10 years.
it's
All
come
the
back
sparkles
in.
and unicorns
Yeah.
and shit.
Mm.
Yeah.
But I think as a
Of that era, like, that's
teenager,
my age-ish.
yeah, but as a
it's quite
teenager,
unusual.
she was. It was a bit childish, basically.
Yes, agreed.
They moved again to Dallas and later to Houston, and Amy did really well. She was a theatrical type, and her extracurriculars were singing in the church choir and doing plays. She was a popular girl, and everything was looking good for Amy, where the measure of good is the number of friends you have or your grades at school. By her early 20s, she'd married, produced 3 kids, not to the same people, and then divorced.
Or early 20s, jeepers.
Yeah.
And divorced.
Did they drop from the sky?
No, she
Jeepers,
just
busy.
gave birth to them
Asking for a friend.
fairly normally. As I understand it, she went out one night, met a bloke, got pregnant to him, they broke up. She had that child, then she had another child to someone else, and then she got married
Oh,
She
eventually.
doesn't
so
sound like Mother God or whatever it is so
she's
far.
not Mother God yet. At this point, she's Amy Carlson. And apparently she wasn't
Right.
actually the maternal sort. And unlike so many examples in the Alanis Morissette song, this really is ironic, don't you think? Her mother said she just didn't have that warmth. Yes. She had no
Can't really
problem.
do anything.
Yeah. She had no problem leaving her children with other people. Career-wise,
For good, or just while she
just
went
when
out
she
and
went
did some
out,
shopping?
when she went out and did things.
Oh,
Yeah.
the next.
Okay.
Sorry, career-wise, Amy was doing okay. She was a manager at McDonald's, and I think that's about her mid-20s. And for those of us who remember the recruitment and internal leadership programs of the McDonald's business, that was nothing to sneeze at. So it's the mid-2000s, and at that point, I was living near Glastonbury, a mecca to hippies and New Age spiritualism, which probably cured me entirely of any interest in crystal healing and such, but not so for Amy, who started to search for something in her life. She was getting right into New Age shit, getting onto forums on the net and chatting with like-minded folks, seeking to understand what exists beyond ourselves and the metaphysical realm. It was there she met, and I say this loosely, as basically she started chatting in a virtual space, Amaranth White Eagle. You know him, right?
What?
I mean, who hasn't heard of
Yeah.
Amaranth White Eagle?
He dances with wolves, doesn't he?
Well, before you ask, he was not a Native American, and so was appropriating the White Eagle bit for sure.
At least the white bit.
Well, he was white, yeah. Amaranth's current Instagram page has a picture of an old dude with a white and slightly ginger beard, wearing a cap, and the line, "I am a servant of love. Love is the gift we all have to give to one another. Let us share the beauty of love. We all are together. Love ya."
Report this page.
Like Donald Trump, Amaranth White Eagle likes to use all capital letters on everything he writes.
No, that is so annoying.
He likes to what, sorry?
Use capital letters, so it's all in uppercase.
Oh.
So Amy and Amaranth are writing to each other on a chat room, and at this point her sister Tara does notice that Amy is talking like someone who spent too much time in Nimbin. She's talking about hearing angels and, of course, spirit. She's posting things online and becoming increasingly obsessed with the online world of spirituality, writing a post in September 2007 that said, "And I'm cleaning the kitchen, baby just down for a nap, and I feel a tap on my shoulder and a whisk of air in my ear." I think it's meant to be a wisp, I'm not sure. Anyway, and then I heard a lower toned voice, not really even a voice, it was like a message a violin would play in its music, and it said, "President of the United States." I thought, what? What in the world does that mean? I dismiss it, and then I hear, "You are going to be President of the United States."
Oh, for God's sakes. And are you sure it wasn't a real whisk of air? Because she was in the kitchen,
Might have been, don't know.
clapping her on the back of the head.
Well, Amaranth tells her that she is a god.
Put a lead from president to love it.
Well, I don't know. Some people seem to think
The
they're the same
Depends who
thing.
you ask.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Though I have heard him say that pretty much he told everyone that they were gods, because he's basically suggesting that we all have God or we are God or whatever. So I'm not sure he was singling her out, rather just using his rhetoric. But Amy goes for this in a big way.
Oh.
And she starts to talk about Amaranth as her twin flame, which is very romantic, don't you think?
So romantic.
She's now also calling herself Mother God. Then one
That's
day,
cool. She's gone straight to do it. She's
well,
just
he
jumped
told her,
straight
"You're a
into it.
god." She's like, yeah, I am. You're right. Then one day, Amy and her family are at a restaurant having dinner. Amy excused herself, left the restaurant, and, rather unexpectedly, packed up and abandoned her children and former life. It seemed very sudden, her sister Tara said. It was Amaranth, and I could tell by the way he talked. It sounded like the things Amy was saying when she left. She wasn't even making sense. I couldn't get through to her. That's when she completely flipped a switch. Now, I am going to share some images of this as we go through, of Amy, just in her life. I just want you to get a sense of...
Is it like a sequence? You know when you see the evolution of man?
Sort of, yes.
You get all of those. It's just the evolution
Of
of
Amy.
Mother God.
Yes.
Oh,
God.
Well, okay, she's very young
Shit,
at this
that's a
point.
lot.
She's a teenager and she's got a lot of hair.
A lot of hairspray.
Yes, it was the
the 80s probably.
early
or
90s,
Early
I think,
90s,
early
yeah.
90s, yeah.
Yeah.
I will show you Amy at about the time she disappears and leaves her family. She's absolutely stunning, in my opinion. Very gorgeous. She kind of reminds me of us, Carla, when we were about that age, you know, all dolled up and having a good old time.
The makeup, so you suggest it? Yeah.
So that's where we're at with Amy at this point in time. But then...
Is that a fake rose?
I don't know. No idea.
Looks
Could be. So
trashy.
that's where we're at for now, okay?
So that's what she looks like when she's left the
As she
restaurant.
leaves the
kind of thing.
restaurant, that's pretty much the Amy that we're talking to there. Yeah.
Okay.
So Amy took off to Crestone, Colorado, where she met up with Amaranth, her twin flame, and Father God, and fully embraced her new persona of Mother God, whose mission was to wake up every human on the planet, although not quite in the same way as the woke movement is trying to do today. In June 2009, she puts her first Love Has Won YouTube video online, with Amaranth telling everyone who was watching that they were loved unconditionally. He talks about looking inside for his own divine likeness, and on finding it, their joy would overflow. And I'm not sure, but he may literally mean look for a likeness of Amaranth inside yourself, which for me is creepy given he's a sort of craggy-faced 70-year-old ex-Woodstock type. I'm not looking for that.
Have you got
in
any
me.
Amaranth inside yourself?
Would you like
some? Dirty old man.
And as far as I understand, they were in a romantic relationship also. And Amy would be 25 at this point, and Amaranth may not have been more than 70, but he certainly looked it. So they started a website together.
Stock standard so far.
Called the Galactic Free Press, and were posting videos constantly talking about the interstellar spiritual stuff going on around.
And meanwhile, her kids are with
Grandmother,
Grandma.
yeah, with her mother, yeah.
Yeah.
Linda.
Linda.
Now, I suppose now is a good time to talk about the tenets of Love Has Won. What did she actually believe? Well, Amy herself as Mother God is over 19 billion years old. Now, if you have any interest in science and current theories on the beginning of the universe, Mother God and the universe pretty much started at around the same time, which makes total sense if she is the divine being that created all life. So far, that makes total sense. Of course, the Earth wasn't around 19 billion years ago, so she must have been living somewhere else. Once making the Earth, or making it to
Uranus.
Earth, and I didn't see anything on how that happened, Mother God lived over 500 lives, reincarnation being an appropriated tenet of the faith. And I use that word loosely, faith that is, not appropriated. There's plenty of that. Now, Mother God's mission is all around trying to get people to see that humanity is being kept in a low vibrational state by the Cabal, which is another appropriation. And now we move into the world of anti-Semitism, as the word comes from the Hebrew Kabbalah, meaning received doctrine, but was later given sinister interpretations.
Didn't Madonna join that for a while or something, or was that a mistake? Because she just got a
Kabbalah,
weird-
yeah, no, she
Correct.
did. Yeah.
She did.
Of course, the Cabal is a global organization and a group of minions of reptilians, and the Ananki, and I don't know how you say it, I don't even care. Anunnaki. They're bad aliens, basically. They're all the rich people and people in government, of course, tied to the Illuminati. Thank you, Dan Brown. And they orchestrate all the bad things in the world. Unsurprisingly, for those who have found Mother God, she has made them realize pandemics and mass shootings are illusions, deliberately orchestrated to keep humanity controlled and in a state of fear. So in some ways, Mother God was just a bit of ahead of her time. Think of all the followers she could have got in the COVID-19 world. I'm still seeing people talk about how COVID vaccination has caused increases in rare cancers and stroke. No one, however, is talking about the correlation of getting COVID-19 and then getting a rare cancer or a stroke versus those who didn't get COVID compared to those who were vaccinated or not. But hey, anyway, I digress. And even worse, want to apply logic and reason to that debate. What a dickhead I am.
Can't argue with stupid.
Stupid is as stupid does. So we've got the evil Cabal, a 19 billion year old being, literally God on Earth. That's where we're at so far.
But not literally.
But no, she's literally
purporting to be.
No, Mother of God, she's literally God on Earth. Like so many people who have been reincarnated.
I'm skeptical.
Amy recalled the lives of living the lives of Jesus Christ. See, I told you he was real. Cleopatra, a popular choice amongst white ladies who recall past lives.
Is Jesus transgender?
No, Jesus is reincarnated as a woman now, sort of. It's all a bit
Back
confusing.
then?
I don't know if she ever said she was
I'm
Jesus. I can't
very
remember.
confused.
Oh, well, don't
I feel
worry.
like you said
It
she
won't get
was.
any better. Marilyn Monroe, Joan of Arc,
So everybody she's heard
and Mary
of.
Magdalene, and of course many others, but you wouldn't have heard of them. Now, you may have heard of the Queen of Lemuria, though.
No.
Haven't even heard of Lemuria.
Well, okay. You guessed it, though. Amy was the Queen of Lemuria. And not only that, when she was the Queen, oh my God, at the time, her daddy was Donald Trump. Well, obviously not Donald Trump as we know him today, but his soul.
Oh, in
Oh.
one of
Her father, when she was the queen of Lemuria.
this is all starting to make perfect sense.
So you guys know Lemuria, right? Of course not.
Oh,
No.
No.
I said it. I don't know.
Here's a quick segue on that. The term Lemuria was first coined by a zoologist in the 1860s, Philip Sclater, on trying to explain the existence of lemur fossils, that's where the lemur of Lemuria comes from, on Madagascar and the Indian subcontinent, but not in Africa or the Middle East. Basically, the thought he had was that there had been a continent or a land bridge that connected the Indian and Pacific Oceans, but that it had sunk ages ago. And there are some of those. What's it called? Zealandia or Zealand or New Zealand and Australia? No,
Zooland?
New Zealand, Australia, and some of
Zoolander?
there's a subcontinent, or there's a continent that sank, of which Australia and New Zealand,
Oh,
I
yeah.
can't remember what it's called, like Zealand or something. Anyway.
Atlantis.
Well,
Sorry.
no, you're not far off because some people think Lemuria and Atlantis may well be the same thing. You've got to remember that this idea came from a zoologist and it's based in science, and he's not saying it was Atlantis. He's saying, that might explain why the lemurs are over here and over there, but they're not over there. I don't even know why he thinks that, but whatever.
Okay.
Anyway, science moved on a bit, and the theory was chucked out when plate tectonics and continental drift came into fashion in the 20th century. But by then, the idea of Lemuria had been picked up by Helena Blavatsky, who was the founder of Theosophy in the late 1800s. Helena included Lemuria in her religious doctrine, saying that Lemuria was where all humans came from originally. The writings of Blavatsky had a significant impact on Western esotericism, popularizing the myth of Lemuria and its mystical inhabitants. And if you want to know what Western esotericism was, it was basically the appropriation of Eastern cultures into a bunch of rando theologies, i.e. reincarnation and, shit like that.
Are you with us,
Well,
Swanee?
my next line is, okay,
Kind
still
of.
following?
by us, I mean her.
So where's
This is
our
very-
Lemuria?
We all
Yeah.
humanity originally comes from Lemuria.
Lemuria.
Lemuria
Okay.
is either Atlantis and lost, or maybe still exists, and I'll get onto that in a second. Oh my God. So Mother God's mission was to lead 144,000. Have I talked about how ludicrous this number is before, by the way?
Which number?
Well, you haven't really said the number yet, so...
No.
144,000.
Okay.
So
What was it so specific?
it comes
for?
up in a whole,
No.
it's from, I don't know, Revelation or something. It's from the Bible, basically. But it comes up, I think the Jehovah's Witnesses still today believe that only 144,000 souls get saved. And you're like, well, what
Oh.
happens when you've, clocked up
Eaten on
enough,
the head.
or is it the Mormons? I don't know. One of them, Seventh-day Adventists, like they've got this crucial number about 144,000. And it doesn't make any sense when you consider the billions of people on the planet today. If you convert all of them, does that mean only 144,000 get to be saved? Anyway, I just...
And the rest are
I don't
soulless.
understand. Anyway, but she's looking to lead 144,000, of course, believers.
So weird that there's facts that don't make sense in religion. Anyway,
I know, right?
I digress.
You mean not facts, things that don't make sense.
That's
Yes,
what faith
correct.
is for.
Thank
That's
you.
why it's faith. So she's trying to get 144,000 believers to the 5D plane of existence. And the 5D is the fifth dimension. And of course, it's effectively enlightenment. The world we inhabit is at the 3D level, right? So three-dimensional world, which apparently will be destroyed, and our energies will be recycled into the sun if we're non-believers. So until we can all progress to 5D,
I'm going to get
we will
recycled
be
into the sun.
recycled into the
It's
sun.
exciting.
Unless, of course, love as one has cleansed us and breaks us of our mental shackles. So when the believers ascend to 5D, the 5D plane, they do it physically, so taken up by starships.
Oh, they've got a
Starships
slate?
are meant to shine. Or whatever the song is.
Nicki Minaj.
Nicki Minaj, how to say it yet?
Jesus. I guess importantly,
You
in
think
this
that they
doctrine,
think-
there is no idea of life and afterlife. They are all the same reality.
I have
She may as
exception
well
to be
be.
quite a doctrine and not quite a shit. It's some school project, isn't it? Really?
Oh, that's where you draw the line.
That's where I draw the
Everything else you were fine with until
Yeah.
that.
Quite cutting, really. So, there's no idea of life and afterlife. They're all pretty much the same. And here we go. Mount Shasta in California is also a pivotal part of this story, as it is apparently where the Lemurians...
Where the spaceships picked everyone up.
No, well,
Lemurians.
sort of. The Lemurians, who are an ancient super race of tall, blonde, white people, they still live there.
You're Lemurian.
You are.
God.
And they still live there, and it holds great significance in the ascension of the enlightened. Now, slight aside.
She's tall and blonde, isn't she?
Not later. She's blonde when she was younger.
Oh.
She's dyed blonde, I'm guessing. She's like me.
Okay.
Now, slight aside, and this is just one of those weird coincidental things in the world, but when I started looking into this story and I read a little bit about Mount Shasta and Mother God and all the rest of it, I hadn't got much further in the story. And about a week ago, I think this was, and I get a text message or a message on Messenger from a friend of mine who doesn't say that she's Mother God, but certainly is into New Age shit and considers, talks about how she can talk to spirits or have spirit talk to her or reveal things to her or whatever. Anyway, literally out of the blue, I get a message with a picture of what looks a bit like Ilden, but quite large, with like houseboats and stuff. And she says something like, "Oh, I thought you'd like this picture of Lake Shasta." And it didn't twig at first. I sort of thought, oh, yeah, that's nice. And then she starts sending photos of Mount Shasta and other places because she's been to California recently. And she's been, of course, with a bunch of her spiritual friends having a spiritual retreat. My response was, that looks nice and whatever. And then she kept sending photos and I just said, don't join a cult. And I always say this to her, so it's not unusual. And she goes, haha, you're so funny. And I'm like, she goes, it was just nice girls like me. And I go, yeah, that's how it starts. Anyway, and then I said,
wasn't it though?
Mother God was at Mount Shasta. So Amy sets herself up.
How do you spell that?
Shasta. It's in California. It's very beautiful. It's really
Mount
beautiful.
Shasta Mystery Spiritual.
There you go. It's Nimbin.
Yeah.
It's California Nimbin, right?
Okay.
So Amy sets herself up in a place called Crestone, which is in quite a remote area. It's a bit like Nimbin again. Crestone attracts alternative types with spiritualists, healers, and UFO enthusiasts congregating there as it has a concentration of spiritual energy, I suppose like ley lines, and it's a top spot for communion with the divine. That's what it should say on its tourist website. This is a top spot for communion with the divine.
Welcome to Mount Shasta.
No, this is Crestone in Colorado.
Oh,
yeah,
sorry,
it's all right.
Crestone.
So her early work online, so from the time she's with Amaranth, she basically starts live streaming and putting all these videos up on YouTube, right?
And are they a couple?
Yeah, they were for a bit, yeah. So she's online all the time. Her early work consists of reporting on celestial events. She borrows from other ideologies, for example, talking about Ashtar Command, which is an extraterrestrial law enforcement agency that will save humanity. Lucky us. She's constantly making YouTube content. Really, she's an influencer before the advent of Insta, and over time she moves from being the second to Father God to being the main focus of her movement. She breaks up with Amaranth, and then she takes up with a guy called Miguel Lamboy, who believed Amy had cured his end-of-life lung cancer. And at this point, he's already had one of his lungs removed, and he's basically been told he's dying, and miraculously, Amy cures him. And they move to a nice forest location with a river, and she continues her work with Miguel, who is now Archangel Michael Silver, and is often the cameraman filming her in these things at this time. And so Miguel was basically her first follower. Now Miguel,
and production.
And production, yeah. So Miguel...
were there 144,000 followers?
No, there's one at this point, Miguel.
No, but
online.
Okay, I'm skipping
not really
ahead,
sure about
sorry.
the numbers online, although she does grow a bit of a presence, and I'll get into that in a sec. Miguel wasn't the only person who claims to have been healed by Amy, and as such, he truly believes she was Mother God. He's also good at handling the money and logistics of the operation, and pretty much positioned himself as the CFO. In 2019, he turned Love Has Won into a non-profit charitable organisation and named himself as the LLC business owner. He does appear in early videos imploring believers to donate money and speaking of Mother God's awesomeness.
Did you say 2019?
Yeah.
Did that?
Yeah, that's when he turned it into a charity. But
yeah, charity.
So she sort of starts all of this at about, I think it's 2007, 2008, maybe a little later. But by 2014 to 2018, Love Has Won grows in popularity, mostly having an online following, but over time people start to show up, wanting to hang out with the new Jesus and act as disciples at her feet. I've seen plenty of footage where this is basically all they do. They sit around for hours listening to her teachings on energy, love, and shit. Initially, she was inviting and
Excellent use of the word shit.
initially, she's quite inviting and great to be around, and so she's great fun, and she's like very welcoming. A lot of love bombing going on. As each person comes into the house that they were living in, they really invite them. Like they bring them in and say things like, "We've been waiting for you. You are brilliant. You are loved." All these sorts of things. And the people who come, of course, are looking for something,
Would love it. Yeah.
not fitting in. And they're just showered with this incredible welcoming love from this divine being. And everyone else is going on and on about how marvelous Mother God is and how connected she is and how she heals people and all the rest of it. So they just really get stuck into it. Now, Amaranth was her first father god, but there were others. A young, relatively good-looking guy named Andrew came on the scene when he was struggling with a painkiller addiction and he's looking for the meaning in his life. And it wasn't long before Amy said to him, "When you want to make love, just let me know."
Boom.
Now, I did hear him say he didn't actually find her that attractive, but then he considered that perhaps was a challenge that he needed to overcome as part of his spiritual journey.
Oh.
And after some time, as her new father god, he found that he actually did love her.
Or find her
Now-
attractive is a
Oh,
difference.
well, that's nice.
Andrew did see some of the cracks in Amy, as she occasionally admitted she wasn't actually Mother God and all of this was made up. But other people reminded her that she actually was God and not to second guess herself. You've got this, girl. Andrew
got this,
spoke
God.
out, yeah, albeit gently, questioning some of what was being said. And Amy and Archangel Michael Silver would have none of it, and eventually he was ousted from the group.
Jeepers. Because he was the weakest link.
Yeah, absolutely, because he questioned anything. The third father god was a guy called John. Don't know his last name. Now, he'd been retired from the military and was looking for what to do next when he found the group. So, he's a bit lost.
I'm at a little bit of a loose end here.
He was pretty much. He didn't know what to do with his life and he comes across this stuff. And Amy seemed to like the look of him. And so not long after he joins, she promotes him to Father God status. And I think Father God status just means the bloke she's
Her boyfriend.
regularly shagging. Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if I'm going to get this right, but from what I can tell at this point, the group consisted of Amy and Archangel Michael, John, Aurora and Hope, who were girls from Florida who basically eschewed their lives in Florida and came up to be with Mother God. Uncle T, don't know what that stands for. Mother Mary, who was some poor older woman who, I don't know, just got sucked into the whole thing. She said...
Does she speak words of wisdom?
It's not coincidental. Not really, from what I heard of her, but she did say that her time with the group was the happiest of her life. Faith, Commander Buddha, Elmoira, and Erin, who came into the group with her 3 children initially, but at some point her mother shows up and takes the kids off her. And so she actually loses her children for quite some time. So what do you do when you're sitting around in a house?
Good.
Right. What do you do when you're sitting around in a house with God? And the answer is you sit on your laptop and you talk about what Mum has said and what needs to happen to save humanity. And you also sell products because, being 10
Gotta
or
get your money
however many
somehow.
people in the house,
Bit of cross emotion,
got
eh?
to pay the bills, right? So they set up a business selling products, which is pretty much normal New Age crap. Candles, oils, tinctures, crystals, that sort of stuff. But one of their favourite things that they like to sell was colloidal silver. Now, with this fantastically formed group, the themes of what Love Has Won were really into seem to be, the first one being Mother God as the supreme being. So basically, Mother God was the embodiment of the divine female, the source of all creation, and the ultimate authority in the universe, and certainly in the house. Members revered Amy as a deity and believed that she held the key to spiritual enlightenment and salvation. 2. Ascension and spiritual awakening. Love Has Won taught that humanity was undergoing a process of collective ascension in which individuals were awakening to their true spiritual nature and transcending the limitations of the material world. According to the group's teachings, this ascension process was guided by Amy and was essential for ushering a new era of peace and harmony on Earth. We all want a bit of peace and harmony on Earth.
If God is on earth in her form, what is beyond that then? How does she upsell what's going up on beyond
5D.
the 5D? Okay.
She's down here to get us
Yeah.
all up to 5D. She's trying to save us, man. She's trying to save us.
Thank you, Amy.
Number 3 is the end of times prophecy.
Not succeeding.
One of my favourites. End of days, of course.
End
Yeah.
of
End of days, that's it. That.
So, of course, we've got apocalyptic beliefs claiming that the world was on the brink of a monumental shift in consciousness that would result in the complete transformation of society and the planet. Members believe that Mother God's teaching held the key to navigating these tumultuous times and preparing for the coming changes. Fourth one, communal living and spiritual practices. Members of Lovers One often live together in communal settings where they engaged in spiritual practices such as meditation, chanting, and energy healing. These practices were believed to facilitate spiritual growth and connection with Mother God's divine energy. And of course, a good one, rejection of mainstream society.
Also known as isolation.
The group held a disdain for mainstream society and its institutions, viewing them as corrupt and disconnected from spiritual truth. Lovers One encouraged members to detach from societal norms and embrace a more authentic, spiritually focused way of life. This included encouraging alcohol, cigarettes, marijuana use, and magic mushrooms, as everything you've been told about the negative effects of these things is total rubbish and they should be indulged in as much as you like.
Alcohol and cigarettes included.
Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry, you had to roll...
And the ganja.
You had to roll your own organic cigarettes. So you couldn't have commercially made
I was going to
ones.
say, otherwise that felt a bit too mainstream. And the alcohol, did they make their own, or were they having it on by the years? Probably,
No,
yeah.
they did make their own colloidal silver, but no, they did not make their own alcohol.
How many candles do you have to sell to buy a bottle of Jim Beam? I'm assuming that's their drink of choice.
I'm not even sure how much the members were drinking, but I can tell you Amy was drinking.
Was she?
Roshi.
Yeah, and because alcohol
Off
was
her nut.
alcohol was important for her to, I don't know, get her energy right or some shit. But also,
Well, you know, I'm not judging her for that.
apart from selling all of the candles, they had a top product, which was, I've written it somewhere, I'll come onto it
Top
soon.
seller.
But yeah, their best product was basically an online healing session where they just sat there and chanted at you a bit to do some kind of cleansing or something. And they charged good money for that. I think it was $80 or something. And that was quite successful as a product line. But also
I'm tipping not much repeat business for that one, though.
Oh, no, people came back. My Archangel Michael Silver, the CFO, he effectively told every new member who showed up, as in physically showed up, to hand over whatever they had. And people signed up for it. They cashed out, it'd be like me cashing out my superannuation, selling my house, giving them everything. And they did that because they wanted to live with Mother God and they wanted this experience. So
Gosh.
they had enough to pay for the tequila and vodka, put it that way. So hierarchy and obedience is another one. Within the group, there was a strict hierarchy with Amy at the top. Members were expected to obey her commands without question and to devote themselves fully to the group's mission of spreading Mother God's teachings. At one time, this included breaking the shackles of food and sleep. The members, including Amy, were all emaciated and sleep deprived. So maybe they didn't have very much money for food.
And sleep.
Oh, yeah, because apparently food and sleep are really terrible.
Real
they control
shackles.
you.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Wow.
I haven't even got to
Almost
this
can't
bit yet.
live without them.
Yeah, almost. Reincarnation and cosmic significance. Lovers One taught that the individuals had lived multiple lifetimes and were part of a cosmic journey of evolution and growth. Members believed that their connection to Mother God was part of a divine plan that extended beyond the boundaries of time and space. And on top of that, Mother God herself communed with many deceased people who were all part of the move to 5D enlightenment, or galactics, as Amy called them, who gave her guidance. And her top galactic was Robin Williams.
Oh!
Did he know?
No, after his death, he came to Amy and he gave her a lot of guidance, a lot of encouragement. You know, he expressed admiration for her teachings and contributed energetically to the group's mission. Michael Jackson, similar to Robin Williams, he showed up and basically was a sympathetic figure aligned with the group's mission. Prince, another one.
Whitney Houston.
Yeah,
yes,
he died within that time.
yes.
She died around the same time. Yeah, she would have.
Princess Diana.
Oh,
There were a lot more. In fact, there's a collage of all the faces of the galactics. So you've got this nice little poster that someone's made. You've got
the name, the Galactic.
Amy's face is slightly larger than everyone else's. But then it's just a collage of all these people who've died, right?
It sounds like a school project.
And it includes
With
Patrick
access to a
Swayze.
couple of what was it? TV Hits magazine or whatever.
Oh, yes,
Yes,
it looks
Smash
very much
Hits.
like
Smash
that.
Hits. That's
Yeah.
what I laughed. I was Smash Hits.
It looks
Yeah.
very like that. Pretty much name any celebrity who's died in the last 50 years, and there's a good chance they're on it. So
Very
Bowie,
relaxing.
John Lennon. John Lennon was a big one because John Lennon actually was commander, I think, or
Whoa.
basically driving one of the major starships.
Oh,
And some people have found this quite ironic because in his living life, John Lennon was a dreadful driver and actually used to get other people to drive him around because he knew how bad he was and he didn't want to cause any safety issues.
space
with
is
people.
different, Shanice. Space is
Well,
different.
that's right. Tupac Shakur, Patrick Swayze,
Oh.
Carrie Fisher, and so on
Oh.
and so on. She even, and this is one of my favourite bits, she had a few living galactics on her collage.
Oh.
Good old Donald Trump, of course, her daddy in a past
Dad.
life. And this one I just honestly cannot, I just can't, right? Carol Burnett.
Oh.
Carol Burnett, for God's sake.
Who's that?
Why? Old redhead Canadian.
Old redhead comic actress who's still alive
You go,
too.
sir. Yeah.
I bet you they thought she'd died. Anyway, so they admitted that they weren't ascended, but they were on the team as living beings. But Robin Williams was the main galactic who inspired and supported Mother God, and often, would
Oh.
pass messages through Mother God to the team. And I've seen one bit where he's not happy. In fact, Robin Williams is disgusted. So it's 2018, and all the members are hanging on every word Amy utters. They're also drinking and smoking and taking magic mushrooms and marijuana. And Amy is indulging in some of these things the most. She sees these as medicines and she loves booze the most. Reportedly drinking.
Mother God doesn't need any of that.
You don't understand. I'll explain in a minute why she needs it.
Thank you. That's great.
Oh, but she's drinking so much to make us look like total teetotalers, right? So she's a really heavy drinker. She's
Really?
also ranting and abusing her
She needs
followers.
to get onto the non-alcoholic wine.
Is she an alcoholic? Like, in the sense that she's...
I would
when
say
her
so.
She came from back after Sunday.
No,
sounds like
she
a
didn't
yes.
come from a background.
None for...
No, she developed
I don't know how...
alcoholism at this point, I'd say. She just I will get to my theories on what really turns out happening here, but she develops it in the environment, I think.
Yeah,
She
that's
develops it-
weird. Normally it's the opposite where they're just so abstained from certain activities that they sort of
Not
get
her.
their... That's weird.
Oh,
She's just
no.
loose.
Woo! She's fucking loose,
Loose.
mate. She is really loose, yeah. She's also, by this time, starts ranting and abusing people as well, and they actually catch it. Because, Carly, you've talked before about certain stories you've done where they film everything. This is one of those. Absolutely everything
Okay,
is
it's all
captured,
there.
right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because they're doing these bloody live streams because they want everyone to live the
Yeah,
way they
right.
live and feel it and be
Feel
part
it.
of it and all this stuff.
Woo.
Yeah. The followers, though, explain, so the members who are there copying the abuse explain that the reason she has these rants and she's so awful is because she's taking on, Clarky, the pain of the entire world, all the negative energies. She's taking it on physically and she's dealing with it for their sake. No, sorry, for our sake.
Oh, she's a good egg. Like all
That's-
the sins.
That's her mission,
Oh.
right? She's
She
there,
just
she's
sounds
taking
like
on our
a
sins.
frickin' grumpy
Modern day
alcoholic.
Jesus. That's right. Oh, or grumpy alcoholic, one or the other. Okay, so now enter stage left, Jason Castillo, the final
I wish you had
father
said
god.
Jason Derulo.
Castillo is a good-looking guy with long dark hair, swarthy looks, and a Jack Nicholson in The Shining air of danger and mystique.
Ooh.
Yeah. So on paper, you'd look at him and you think, oh, he's good looking, until he starts talking, and then you think, you're weird.
You're a serial killer.
Jason first appears in the videos around August 2018. And at first, when he comes in, he's pretty much just trying to assimilate into the group. Now, Jason hails from Rhinelander, Wisconsin, and apparently has always had an interest in the concept of a living God. Himself, of course.
Oh.
To quote Jason,
Got myself a walking, talking.
living God. Yeah. I remember being 5 years old, maybe 6, sitting on the weekends in my grandparents' house. I'd sit on the stairs and look at this picture of Jesus. There was beautiful cracked gilded glass above the lamp in the hallway and this auburn glow. I would sit there and just stare at Jesus, who was myself.
Oh.
Jesus.
Jesus.
That's
You've
him.
let yourself go.
Deeply affected by his father leaving his mother when he was very young, Jason took on the role of the father figure for the family and was very supportive of his mother and siblings as he grew up. In 1999, he moved to Sacramento and met his partner of nearly 20 years who he had 4 children with. They moved to Vegas in 2007, and that was around the time that he may or may not have, but I'm going to say did, get into crystal meth, which is according to his sister.
I mean, enlightenment.
He discovered Mother God around 2013 and started to talk to his family about ascending. Can you even imagine it, right? You've been with someone for 20 years. And also, by the way, that Jesus is a woman. Eventually, he leaves his family, abandons them, to join Amy and her group. And pretty much everyone else does that. Everyone in the group abandons their Earth family, I think they call them.
Better go and feed my ears, Annie, surely.
Don't abandon them.
My 3D children are the greatest children on the planet. They're well aware that the needs of a few are unimportant compared to the whole planet. There are 8.5 billion children. So he shows up and not long after takes more of a leadership role in the group. He seems pretty weird in the videos, and frankly, if I'd been there, I would have booked it because I think he's quite scary. He just goes off on aggressive rants, takes over playing heavy metal music, drinking, taking drugs, sliding on up to Amy. He's all over Amy in quite a dominant way, like,
gosh.
marking his territory kind of thing. And so she eventually proclaims him Father God and tells the others that if they don't like it, they can piss off. And by the way, the other Father God's still there. So there are 2 Father Gods.
That's a lot.
John, Father God 3, is sort of now like a little submissive puppy. Sort of going, no, you're okay. Because he's quite scary. By March 2018, videos from Lovers One began to feature updates from the first contact ground crew team, around 10 members who would pile into a room together and speak directly to the camera for a few hours each day. Now, this was the core group of in-person followers who both assisted and protected Amy in her quest to help the world ascend. Most were young and all were enthusiastic, kicking off every video with a group cheer shouting, "Lovers One!" and breaking into applause. Around the same time, the group members start calling themselves the First Contact Ground Crew Team. Catchy. And they take over the role of being online, and this is actually quite important. They sit around talking, arguing, repeating what Mum has told them. Amy herself, though, is starting to be seen less and less in the videos. Up until now, like, she's been the celebrity, she's been the namaste, she's the face. Now she's moving away. And it makes perfect sense because Amy's vibration is so high and everyone else's is so low that if the people watching it on YouTube saw her, their bodies would explode.
Oh.
Well, at least that's how it was explained to them
Wow, that's.
by the followers. Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah, and Mum is really busy. She's working to battle the cabal. Dark Witches attacked Amy in August 2018, and apparently another assassination attempt had happened where a sword sliced one of her hearts. Apparently she's got 3, which is doing better than Doctor Who.
How many? Yeah, right.
Oh.
The etheric have been doing surgery on it for many hours now, and Mum is throwing up diarrhea as she was shaking. These attacks on Mother
Throwing
God...
up diarrhea.
Well, someone sliced one of her hearts, mate. What do you think it's going to make?
Can't you just
happen
throw up
to you?
vomit? Why does he have to throw up
Oh,
diarrhea?
throw up, diarrhea.
Oh,
She's throwing up diarrhea. I didn't write it.
too
It's
much.
a quote. It's a quote. Okay. These attacks on Mother God go on for months. The group telling followers of the terrors of her being the target of the cabal, sounding very much like the Book of Revelation. Amy has broken through 7 seals, after which she'd move on to transitioning 7 trumpets, then 7 bowls. Now we're super paranoid and end of days
7
type
bowls.
I don't know, is lacing the narrative. Look, it's from bloody Revelation. It's 2,000-year-old book.
I mean, the trumpets I can go with. The bowls, come on.
So now we've got this paranoid end of days rhetoric and racism. The disciples explained that Hitler was working for the light. The Holocaust is sketchy. Probs didn't happen. Sandy Hook massacre was a hoax. And they say truly revolting things about people of colour, which, anyway. They talk about QAnon, the Q obviously standing for Queen and alluding to Amy being Q. The Matrix is real, and I can't even keep writing this shit, to be honest. It's beyond whack, and I guess if there were not all the standard traits of a cult happening to those people at the time, they probably wouldn't have got caught in it. Love bombing new members so they feel like they found their people, their space, everyone revering Mum. You'd be an outcast if you don't. They're taking drugs that change their perspective. They think they're doing something that's right and good and above all others, and helping people. They cut all their ties to their family, so there's no outer influence to tell them they're being whack. They're sleep and food deprived, further breaking down their psyche. Copping abuse about making the wrong food for dinner. She's on video screaming at one guy because he made meatballs instead of a chicken parmesan, or making the world's worst quesadilla ever. At one point, because Robin Williams is fucking disgusted with them, they remove the heaters from these disciples in the middle of winter. I don't know what they've done, but Robin Williams is fucking disgusted with them.
This is after Robin Williams was dead, right?
Yeah, so it was far from all love and light, peace and mung beans, but the followers were deep in the delusion at this point, and there was really no way out. Jason, of course, sees this as the perfect arrangement to be cock of the walk. Amy's health is finally taking a downturn, though it's hard to say when it really got bad, as the attacks from the cabal were also happening. By September the 13th, 2018, she had processed 99.3% of the world's negative energy, which you have to admit is pretty good going. Yeah.
That's pretty good math.
No wonder she's exhausted.
She fucked.
Poor doll.
The rate of growth slowed
9.3.
exponentially. As she gets to the 100%, though, it slows down, and she describes her pain as reaching 50 out of 10. So back on your good at maths, maybe not.
I reckon my pain's 50 out of 10 about now.
Archangel Michael Silver says in a video that the situation is very dire. Something may happen to her physical body. The followers is now saying that Amy's bedridden and that she can't walk. She's paralysed from the waist down. But in fairness, we don't really know what's happening because she's rarely on camera at this time. And we're not really sure if they're describing her metaphysical pain or actual pain. Meanwhile, they're still online plugging their spiritual charms, candles, tinctures, and shit. Amy herself loved a bit of Amazon shopping and bought whatever she wanted, usually hippie dresses and crystal jewelry. At one point, they demanded people donate so she could have an inflatable spa, which she got, and another time, a golf cart, and she got that too.
Just the essentials for Mother God.
Yeah, anything Amy wanted, she got. Her followers, however, had to go through Michael to spend any money, and all of their cash went into the group. And they were getting more and more bonkers, and there were times when they threatened non-believers on the live streams. There's no fence sitting. You either stand by Mother God or you'll be taken out, good old El Moira remarked. You're going to be like a fly on the windshield, smashed, he said, in another. And when asked if they had weapons in the house via live stream chat, he awkwardly said, "We're supposed to say no." Perhaps the most shocking instance of threatening the public outright came from a video addressed by Adam in 2019. "Anyone who tries to fuck with us, we'll kill you," he said. "We will fucking kill you because there's no time left. And we've seen our mums suffer so much. I know that so many people watch these live streams. I know there's rich people out there with millions of dollars who watch these. And how dare you? We're coming for you."
I mean, even God's got his/her limits, haven't right?
Adam has subsequently clarified that statement was spoken with no violent intention, bloodlust, or will to do ill harm, merely a friendly warning to all who refuse to return to the ways of natural law, life, and existence. These people will be cut down by the forces of nature in the universe herself. Poor old Amy, though, she's still working, processing all the world's suffering through herself, resulting in her being in abject agony. If anyone did the wrong thing in the group as well, this hurt her terribly, and I mean physically. You come near me.
I mean that in a physical way.
And I will go you with a knife. You come near me, and I mean that in a physical way. It was the reason she was abusive to them, lashing out in her anguish. Fortunately, she was taking her medicine to help, which was a bit old school, vodka, tequila. She needed her meds frequently and is heard on a video saying, "Where's my tequila, you dick whores?"
Was that cut out of the Bible?
It's a direct quote.
Where's my tequila?
Tequila, you dick whores.
You dick whores.
Yeah. You dick horse. So in an animal farm-like progression, the members would spend hours trying to weed out, no pun intended, the negative energies in the group. This was called Find the Whore, where players would pick on each other to break them down.
That sounds like fun.
Another great cult technique called the hot seat, where a member is bombarded with accusations and criticisms to smash their confidence and self-esteem, rendering them pliable.
Doesn't Eddie do the hot seat on like Millionaire?
Same thing. Same thing.
And fastest finger first.
And you don't even have to be talking about transgressions in this life. In one of these Find a Whore sessions, a member was yelled at for something that he'd done in 1431. Apparently, when Mum was Joan of Arc, she told her soldiers to skedaddle, but this guy jumped into the fire to save her, but died himself.
Oh.
What a dick.
What a dick hole.
So here we have around 20 people. Some came and went in this process who had the time of their lives, and some said it was truly the best till it wasn't. Hungry, cold, sleep deprived, cut off from family, punished for past life transgressions or making a bad quesadilla, and forced to be celibate while Amy and Jason lived however they liked, which included bonking one another. In addition to all their live streaming efforts, they were performing online healing and flogging their crap under the name Carla, Gaia's Whole Healing Essentials.
Did you buy some directly from them?
Oh, I was getting it from Waitrose. I didn't know they sold it through Waitrose in the UK. Goodness me.
Now, I mentioned earlier one of their products was colloidal silver. Amy, given how ill she was from the Cabal attacks and the negative energy of the world, was
God.
a big believer in the healing properties of
That'll
colloidal
save her.
silver and was drinking it constantly.
Tequila and vodka.
Yep. Colloidal silver is basically silver particles in liquid.
Oh, shit.
It's basically silver particles in liquid. It's been used for a long time to topically treat burns and cuts, but if ingested, particularly in large quantities over time, it can cause ageria, where your skin turns blue, and you can basically destroy organs such as the kidneys and liver, most likely as they are unable to process and get rid of this wholly unnecessary and unhelpful metal in your body. Whilst readily available on Amazon, and I looked it up, it's not recommended by any Food or Drug Authority and also not by me. They made good money out of the etheric surgery, which I was telling you before, the cleansing that they were doing. And they sold Lover's One Ascension Guide for $22.22. I don't know why it's such a bizarre price, US dollars, which prescribe grounding tools to aid in your ascension, which includes sun gazing, so staring at the sun and blinding yourself, smoking cigarettes, but only organic hand-rolled tobacco, eating red meat at least twice a week, and taking long, cold showers. In April 2020, Gaia's Whole Healing Essentials received a warning letter from the FDA and the Federal Trade Commission because they had at that time claimed that its colloidal silver products, guess what, cured COVID-19.
Oh, yes.
There it is.
Brilliant.
Fast forward now to August 2020. Lovers One has branches internationally. It's still small, but it's growing. About 200 people are sucked into it, most of them online. Amy was getting quite ill, though, and the group decided, or rather actually were told by the angels, that they had to move to the Hawaiian island of Kauai. This is sort of significant because our old mates, the Lemurians, may also have inhabited Hawaii as the origin of humanity, or Mount Shasta. So I guess it's why the angels told them to go there. So they're in this beautiful beachfront rental in Wainea. I don't know how to speak Hawaiian. Wainea something. But the locals don't go for it. The locals basically protest outside the house, harassing them, setting little fires, smashing the cars and chanting at them to piss off. Amy herself yells at them in a video, "Fuck off, I'm Pele, bitch. Don't push me." Exactly as one would expect a 19 billion-year-old being to speak. They tried to go to Maui, but the police there made it hard for them at the airport, so they left and they voluntarily went back to Colorado. I think they were only there for, I don't know, weeks or a month or something. Whilst this is going on, Amy's mother, Linda, and sister Tara were increasingly worried about her, but no attempt to get her to listen would work. In a last-ditch attempt, they, and some would say misguidedly, involved Dr. Phil.
No.
Amy was contacted by Dr. Phil,
I love Dr.
and she
Phil.
thought this was her platform. It's funny you should say that because she thought that this would be her platform to reach the masses, though she said she was a bit confused as she always assumed it would be Oprah, not Dr. Phil. And to be honest, whilst the words, "I love Dr. Phil," was coming out of her mouth, her expression was saying something else entirely. And as you may expect, that went badly. Dr. Phil did what he does, basically making her sound like a lunatic monster, bringing up her abandoning her children, the way she treated her group members, mocking her ideology. Her sister and mother just wanted her to get medical help. By this time, she was starting to turn blue and was terribly thin. She was in her early 40s but was looking much older. He even mocked her illness. At this point, she literally couldn't walk anymore. And he asked her why she couldn't heal herself if she was God incarnate. Mother God was not amused. She saw this as a huge betrayal from her Earth family and ranted about it on a video. Okay, now, just very quickly, I'm just going to share again where we're at with Mother God and her, what did you call it before? The progression of Mother God. We started with Amy Carlson's photos earlier. Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
And-
the evolution.
Yeah. So this is her early-ish in the Lovers one.
You can see some of the
She's
druggy traits coming through.
That's her with Jason Castillo. Note her skin at
if
this
that's
point.
not mother and father God there.
That's Mother and Father God, if ever you saw him, right?
Right, yeah.
And then I think the next one, that's right now. At this point is where we're at.
She's in Hawaii. She's a bit skinny.
This is her in Hawaii. She's incredibly thin, and you know she's in a wheelchair.
She doesn't
Her face looks a bit puffy, like she's not well.
Yeah.
She's not well, and
Lots
she's
of makeup.
Look at her eyelids; they're all puffy.
Yeah, she's not walking at this point, right?
Mm.
So Amy is getting increasingly sick because of all this negative energy she has to deal with. According to her mother, Amy had struggled with her weight in her teens and had an unhealthy relationship with food. By 2021, she had nearly no relationship with food, getting whatever sustenance she got from alcohol and colloidal silver.
That's a balanced diet.
Seriously, that's what she's living on. At some point, she had lost her ability to walk. She spent years in her bed, possibly necessary, but by this time she was truly paralysed and had to be carried everywhere by the members. She was in pain, and she said she thought she probably had some sort of cancer, and she asked several times to be taken to hospital. Her disciples, however, would never take her to a 3D hospital. Faith is quoted as saying, "There have been moments when Mum has asked us to take her to a 3D hospital, and we're like, nope, because there's no way. There's no way. And we know exactly how hijacking works. And you can bet your fucking ass that someone in that hospital, whoever it would be, would get hijacked and go straight for Mum. Try to do who knows what. They would try to take her to surgery. They would try to do some crazy shit. So absolutely not." She also reaches out to her estranged daughter at this time, as well as her sister, and Tara the sister knows something's really bad. She repeatedly asked Amy to let her call an ambulance or to come home and be cared for, but Amy refused. In April 2021, Amy was with Jason and a few other true believers staying in Mount Shasta, California now. Hope and Aurora and Miguel had stayed back at Crestone to keep the live streams and the money machine going, but were getting updates on her well-being. By mid-April 2021, the narrative of the videos were about Mum ascending, slowly pulling out of her vessel. Then I think it's the 16th of April on that day, 2 members posted an update. "Mum is going to ascend tonight. Woo!" And the other replies, "For shizzle, my nizzle."
Oh.
Is that the standard response?
"For shizzle, my nizzle." Yeah. Tara, who could only really follow what was happening via these crazy updates, because she's not really in contact, so she's watching these channels, called the local authorities at Mount Shasta to get a wellness check, and an ambulance was called, but it was sent away when it arrived. Now, we're not exactly sure when, but Amy Carlson died sometime after the 16th of April 2021. Let's fast forward a little to April 28. An old mate, Archangel Michael Silver, fronts up to the Salida Police Department, though he's not using that name, preferring his more formal and, let's face it, legal name, Miguel Lamboy. Yeah, his earth name, Miguel. He tells the police that there are a bunch of people who've moved into his house and he doesn't really know who they are. Just some people who've lived in his house on and off over time, but they've put a mummified corpse in the bedroom.
Oh.
No.
So the police from the Sagachi County head on over to his house in Crestone, so we're back in Colorado, and find a bunch of very laid-back hippies hanging around in the house. They ask who's there, and someone says a number of adults and a child and a mother. So they ask where the child is, and they're like, "Oh, the kids are asleep." "Where's the mother?" "She's resting." And when you see this on the body cam, he sort of says, "Oh, she's resting."
Eternally.
Then they go to search the rooms, and they go to Amy's room, which has been decorated by the group members with rainbows and hearts and toys and sparkly stuff, just the best they could have given her. Lying on the bed is a sleeping bag, not a sarcophagus sleeping bag. I did look carefully. And it's wrapped in lovely blinking Christmas lights. When you see the body cam, and I'm about to show you a stills image from this, let me first show you what Amy looked like as she was getting increasingly sick. That's Amy around the Dr. Phil
very
period.
underweight.
It's also
she's not well there.
She's blue.
Yeah, I see that.
In other photos, it's a little bit more evident.
She's
Here's
poisoned.
Amy
Yeah.
Oh, jeepers.
in her spa. Yeah. And this is, I think, within, a week or so
She looks like
before she passes.
she's still alive.
She's barely alive.
Look at the colour of her. Oh, my God.
Look at her bicep, and like there's just
There
just
isn't
skin
anything.
and bone.
For a long
Yeah.
time, she raises her arm and you can see she's got no muscle tone at all. The body's been eating itself for some time. Now, when they go into this bedroom and they see this nice sparkly bedroom, here we go. This is the sleeping bag
God
that we're looking at
sakes.
with all the Christmas lights on it. Yeah, okay. And you see there's the nice rainbows and all the decoration. Now, what happens when you see the body cam footage from the police coming in? It's difficult to make out what you're actually looking at. So when you look at that, it's hard to work out. It looks, it's a sleeping bag and lights. But then the
I can't
police,
see a sleeping bag. I can see the lights. Yeah.
the lights are on a sleeping bag.
Okay.
That's the point, right? It's hard to tell.
Yeah.
But then the policeman takes out a flashlight, and in the unrelenting white beam of that light, the mummified face of Amy Carlson is evident.
Oh God.
And if I were to zoom in, you would see
What
that
am I
the
even looking
nose,
at?
that's her nose, they're her eyes. That's like she's peeking out from the top of the sleeping bag. And her eyes have actually sunken in and pretty much, what's the word? Gone because she's decomposing. They've also put nice sparkly purple eyeshadow on her. And her colour is blue.
Grey.
Grey and blue, but also I think the interesting thing is that one of the police remarks, wow, they painted her because she's so blue. And one of the others say, oh, it's just decomp and mummification. That's what I'm guessing at this point. But actually I think she was that colour because of the amount of colloidal silver in her system. Everyone is then arrested in the house for abuse of a corpse and a child abuse, while police try to work out what the actual fuck has happened. Old mate Archangel Michael clears out the bank accounts and shuts down the websites and distances himself entirely. And I believe he did this before he goes to the police. So he sets it up like she's died. He takes all the money out, and I believe it was $330,000 that was in the accounts at this point in time.
Wow.
Takes it all. It was all in his name, remember? He's the only guy who has access to any of this anyway because he was the CFO. Now, the charges against the group are eventually dropped. The members splinter off because there wasn't really any evidence of child abuse. She wasn't murdered. She died through natural causes. And I think they just couldn't be bothered. Like, they're a bunch of fucking whack jobs.
I get that.
And they're like,
whatever.
Whatever. This has just gone badly for everyone. What's the point in prosecuting them?
Apart
I'm
from
not
Michael.
sure. Well, actually, Jason does time for something.
She was the leader too, I guess. That's true.
Yeah, and I'm not sure what he does time for. No, Michael everything was legal. It was his business. It was all in his name, right? And they just gave him their money. Anyway, so the group splinters off over time. Faith goes on to be a healer, and from what I saw, she was the one pumping Mum with the colloidal silver and refusing to take her to a 3D hospital, so I do not recommend her as a healer, FYI. Aurora and Hope still do live streams about Mom, keeping love as one alive. The others have gone their own way pretty much. So what was the crime here? Was there a crime? One might say the act of conning people, selling quackery, feeding someone colloidal silver till they turn blue and die, driving around the country with a corpse for weeks, because that's what they did, telling yourself she's either going to come back to life or is still alive, and apparently an EMF reader is all the proof you need of life, and running off with the money were all crimes committed. But who really are the victims here? I believe that Amy was deluded and quite possibly brain damaged by the end of her life, and in her own way became a victim of her own delusions. What do you think?
I think how you exhausted.
Goodness.
It's a hell of a story,
Good
isn't it?
call, isn't it?
Oh my
Far out.
God, what a bunch of dickheads. Really, they understood nothing by them.
Oh, God, mango chutney nearly came out of my nostrils.
I know, I find this exhausting when you have to listen to this stuff and people who are just really prepared to believe anything just to feel like they're part of something.
And if
It's
you look at
always
these
the
videos,
same.
Aurora and Hope are still at it. They are so brainwashed, or they're just the best actresses ever. But I think they're brainwashed. They honestly thought she was going to come back. They didn't know what to do, so they took her body. She died around Mount Shasta. They took her. They went camping. So Jason,
Weekend at
Just moved
Bernie's.
around with them.
absolute weekend of Bernie's, right? They put her in the tent. Jason was still sleeping with her next to her, and the others were just sort of waiting for something to happen. And a couple of weeks later, Jason goes, "Go have a shower," and then he just packs up and he takes her back to Creston. And that's the other thing. After she died, a couple of days later, they were at this holiday rental or wherever they were at Mount Shasta, And they realise that the people who own the place,
I know your Airbnb, it's like no corpses, thanks.
well, the people who own the place, they start to worry that they're going to wonder what the hell's going on, right? So they decide they have to leave. And that's when they put her in the sleeping bag and they put her in the back seat of the car. And they're driving off somewhere and they get pulled over by the police. But the policeman, you know, it's night and he shines his light in the car and it looks like someone's asleep in the back seat. So he doesn't realise Weekend at Bernie style they're driving around with a corpse.
Jesus.
And that's when they go off camping for a bit and they're waiting for the angels or someone or mum or someone to tell them what to do. And then he books it back and then they follow. And they're all just, again, hanging around in the house. They've put her in the bed as a mummy. They're just waiting to see if she's going to come back or what to do. They don't know what to do, really. And Michael's taken all the money and then the police show up and it sort of draws it to an end. So to your point about people just prepared to believe any old shit, it's extraordinary, isn't it? Absolutely extraordinary. And they're going around earlier in the piece and they're taking images of clouds and they're like, there's starships. There's the ships. We're going to ascend soon. I don't know what they're on.
Get off the drugs.
I think they were on drugs, but they wanted, like, it's not just the power of suggestion, they wanted to believe it.
Maybe they were just bored and they just created this whole thing for some kind of entertainment.
Because I don't understand why she got involved, like to see whether she went maybe pretty old or not.
There's some bit where she talked early on about the first time she took ecstasy, and I think she took a couple of hallucinogenic drugs in around that 20s period, and then she got into the spirituality and all that sort of stuff, and the drugs, her experience on the drugs might have given her an idea that there was something else happening out there. I don't know. And that's when she sort of gets hooked into it. And then she continues. I think they keep taking hallucinogenic drugs throughout the process. So
sounds like it.
Yeah. And so I think that's partly why. But in those earlier days when Adam was there and he says that Andrew, and he said on occasion she'd say, what if I'm making this all up? You know, what if I'm not really God? So she had moments of kind of clarity, I think. And then they just were so swept into it. They were like, no, I told you. You got this, girl. You're God. Get on with it.
She's just a big disappointment. Imagine being her family and looking at all that shit going on from the outside.
It's horrendous. Can you imagine how traumatic it was for her mother and her sisters?
What were her family like on Dr. Phil? They were pretty normal.
They were totally normal and they were so upset. They were just like, we just want you to get medical help. We can see you're sick. They thought Dr. Phil would be an intervention. Yeah. And instead he just, you know, took the piss out of her. He had no interest in her mental state whatsoever. And she was already very ill at that point, and it just went from bad to worse. So Dr. Phil's not even a fucking doctor, you know?
Hey, enough about Dr. Phil.
No, I think he's got he's late in the story, but he's got a little hand to play.
I forgot what his little wife's name.
His little wife?
Robin! That's it. And she sits in the audience every...
Oh, God.
Or used to. I don't think it's on anymore. But, yeah, don't come at Dr. Phil.
I can't come at him.
It's the secret cookie.
So, yeah, any thoughts? Or it's just a public service announcement that when you think that you have found something amazing, have a little look at how often you're appropriating other cultures' beliefs. Because that's everything in this was pulled from all sorts of, it was cobbled together to Carla's effrontery doctrine.
Doctrine, it's a stretch.
Scientology versus
just a bit of everything.
Scientology, a bit of science fiction, bit of Eastern stuff, you know, reincarnation, everything. And
she's not the Messiah. She's a very naughty girl.
Absolutely. And I would have to say the biggest crime is besmirching poor old Robin Williams' name.
Oh, God.
Yeah, that's bad.
That is so true, isn't it? It's like, God, imagine being drawn into that just by being able to use your name. God.
Awful. I read an article and I'm like, by this time the rabbit hole was so deep, but it was like, why Robin Williams? He came across, like he saw the comedy in things, but he was very genuine and loving or something. So maybe there was something about that she was attracted to. But I don't know why Robin Williams was the man coming
through. Far-fetched from beginning to end. Everything
Isn't
is
it
asking
just?
everything, what's being asked of you as a person who is being exposed in is so beyond far-fetched. It's just a group of people who are a bit more than a bit lost, and, they find some people who they think they feel part of something. It's like,
look, it's classic cult behaviour.
Yes.
Classic cult.
Yeah, but shit cult.
It's a good cult.
It's a piss-weak
They are
cult.
the shittest cult going around. Like,
Piss-week cult, like Piss-week
fuck
Will.
me. Get off the drugs and try harder.
In some ways, you could say what was the harm because, she didn't make everyone drink the Kool-Aid. Although, they were pushing colloidal silver. And then again, they were drinking it themselves. But I think there's a fair amount of damage done.
At the end of it, she fell victim to her own freaking
I think so.
teachings, like
Delusion.
You fucking dumbass. So I don't have any sort of, I don't see a crime as such, although possibly towards the end of it there were. I can understand why the police would just go, oh God,
it just gets
too
messy.
hard.
It's
but I just feel really sorry for the family who have to watch one of their own behave like that and then decline like that. Like, ugh.
One of the members of the group left. I can't remember her name. She left it a couple of months before Amy died, and she spoke and said, I knew she was going to die. They kept giving her the colloidal silver. She wasn't getting any better. She wasn't going to hospital. I couldn't sit there and watch her die. I couldn't help. I couldn't do it.
Good on her for having a conscience.
Yeah, but she didn't do anything about it with it. She knew she was going to die, but she didn't call anyone. But, it's difficult when the individual sends them away. And that was the point about the ambulance. I don't think the ambulance would have helped anyway. She was anorexic, so the autopsy said that what killed her was most likely a combination of anorexia, kidney failure and liver failure, I think, and the colloidal silver.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, the alcoholism. The alcohol would have contributed. Her alcoholism contributed significantly to the damage to her liver and kidneys, and the colloidal silver would have exacerbated that on top of it.
I wonder if they hadn't stopped making the young ones, if that would have gone in a direction similar to this. It just sounds like, a shared household where they've all got too much time, they all drink too much, and then it just progresses from there to the point where, rather than going and getting a job and getting off the alcohol and the drugs and everything, they just go double down and go harder in that direction.
It's a bit like
it's just nonsense.
The Lord of the Flies almost.
Yeah, but with adults.
So shall we leave it as a public service announcement? Don't get involved in cults.
Drugs are bad and good.
Drugs are bad, okay, yeah.
That's why absolutely. Mr. Mackey used to.
I don't know watch her because I think it'd be very interesting to watch her in action. Because it's that same thing. It's one thing listening to a story like this, and because you're just like going, oh God, how charismatic were they or weren't they? Stuff like that. Whereas there's something like
yes, you're right. And it was called, what is it? Love Has Won, The Cult of Mother God. And it's available on Binge, I think, and Foxtel. All I will say about watching that, Swanee, is that it is quite sympathetic to the cult members. If you read other things on it that might be a little bit more balanced, they're not as.
I know what you mean. They don't call them out.
There's a darkness. There's a darkness in it that doesn't come across, I don't think, in that series. But well worth the watch. And certainly some of the things I heard at one point, I can't remember what it was about, but someone says something about drinking the Kool-Aid. And I don't think he even realises he's he's inadvertently referenced Jonestown. It's that sort of stuff that you think, oh my God, you're a literal moron. What you just said something. Oh, fuck. My favourite part was the two girls from Aurora and Hope, who were from Florida. One of them, for Hope, I think, says when Amy's dying, or died, just as she's died, she says, oh, I'm not going back to Florida. This is not over. We'll just continue.
Yeah, because, I don't want to go back to my old life.
If I go back to Florida, I'll be dead in like 5 minutes. And then, no spoiler alert, but right at the end, we see the afterlife, a year later.
Yeah.
And she's back in Florida. And I did laugh out loud at that. But she and Aurora are continuing the good work of Mother God. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Brilliant.
All right.
That's a relief.
Well, I thought it was funny. I should have told you to wear some tin hats.
It was very interesting.
So, don't take drugs. Don't join cults. And I'm going to question whether the Lemurians are a thing. And on that note, as we say every week, miss you already.
Ciao.
Ciao. Miss you like Mother Earth.
Thanks for listening to Trial by Wine. You can contact us at trialbywine@gmail.com. Please rate, review and subscribe to Trial by Wine on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. If you'd like to support us, you can become a patron at www.patreon.com, Trial by Wine, or visit our website www.trialbywine.com to donate to us. Your support will help us cover many more cases and apply wacky sentences. We really appreciate you listening and hope you tell everyone about us. Our cover art is by John Christo and music is by Beauchamp from pixabay.com.